AITA for refusing to buy my mom a lake house and letting someone else keep the gift I bought? My name is Diana. I am 32 years old and work as a senior specialist at a high-end cosmetics company in a major U.S. city. I am doing well enough that 2 years ago I was able to buy my own condo. For weeks, an idea had been spinning around in my head: buying a vacation home. I wanted a place near the water where I could disappear for a few weekends, breathe, and turn down the noise of the city. I could see it clearly. An early coffee sitting on a deck watching the water without any rush. A space of my own, the kind where nobody asks you for anything. Work has its heavy seasons and the city is unforgiving. That house was my way of giving myself a breather. I wanted to tell the people who actually matter to me first. But before that, I have to explain why nothing is simple with my family. My parents divorced when I was 12. After that, my life became a half-packed suitcase. 2 months with my dad, 2 months with my mom, over and over again. In theory it was fair. In practice it was exhausting. I never finished settling in before it was time to move again. My father, Robert, remarried a year after the divorce. His wife is named Sharon, and she arrived without trying to take a place that wasn't hers. She didn't try to replace anyone. She was just there. She truly showed up for me. Sharon had a son, Dominic, 4 years younger than me. I was 13 when they married and Dominic was 9. At first I thought it would be incredibly awkward, but it turned out to be the opposite. Sharon was the kind of woman who asks how your day went and actually stays to listen to the answer. She helped me with homework. She asked if I had eaten, cared for me without being invasive, and Dominic was the brother I didn't know I needed. Annoying at times, yes, but the kind who pulls you into a game or makes you laugh when you're in a bad mood, defending you without being asked. With my mother, Pamela, it was different. She took longer to move on. She married Richard 3 years later, and Richard came with his daughter Andrea, who was 2 years older than me. When they married, Andrea was 17 and I was 15. I swear I tried, but with them I always felt like a guest. Richard was cold, the kind of man who answers with a huh, without even looking at you. Andrea acted as if I were invading her house, her space, and her life, and my mom just adapted to that dynamic as if it were normal. The 2 months with my mother felt eternal. In my dad and Sharon's house, I actually felt like part of something. There was a routine, affection, jokes in the kitchen, and homework at the table. In contrast, with my mom, everything was tension. I felt like I was walking on eggshells, as if anything could be used against me. At 16, I finally gathered the courage and told her, "Mom, I think I want to live with my dad full-time." I expected a fight, a lecture, or tears, but my mom just nodded. "If that's what you want, Diana." I don't know how to say this without sounding mean, but in that moment I saw relief, as if I were a problem she was finally getting rid of. It hurt deeply, but at the same time, I felt a calm I hadn't felt in years. I finally stopped jumping from house to house. I stayed with my dad, Sharon, and Dominic. I kept seeing my mom every now and then, but less and less over time. When Andrea got married and had a daughter, my mom became a full-time grandmother. Photos, posts, comments, pride. Everything was for her granddaughter. I became a memory that appeared only when it was convenient. I graduated from high school living with my dad and Sharon. They pushed me to go to college. When I told them I wanted to focus on chemistry, they supported me without hesitation. "We believe in you, Diana," Sharon told me one night. "This is for your future." My mom didn't even come to my graduation. I loved my major. Chemistry applied to skin, formulas, and ingredients hooked me, and that opened the door to the job I have today. I joined a large company and my salary started rising quickly. I spent years saving for the down payment on my condo, being careful with expenses and remaining consistent. It wasn't luck, it was persistence. During those years, I barely spoke to my mother. Not because I didn't want to, but because she didn't seem to need me. She was wrapped up in Andrea's life and her granddaughters. I focused on building mine with the family that actually gave me peace. Then, 2 years ago, my mom called me out of the blue. "Diana, I miss you," she said. "I think we should try to have a relationship again." It seemed strange, very strange, but I agreed to meet her for coffee. That afternoon my mom was different. She asked about my work, my condo, how much I made, and if I was saving. At the time I thought maybe she wanted to truly get to know me. I got my hopes up, I won't lie. We started talking more often. Every few weeks she would call to catch up. Almost always, in one way or another, the topic of money would come up. "Oh honey, I'm struggling with the electric bill." Or, "The gas and groceries hit me all at once." I would send her money electronically, $50 here, $100 there. I thought I was being a good daughter, that I was helping. And there I was, one Friday night in my condo, excited about the vacation home. I wanted to share it with my dad, Sharon, and Dominic. Dominic was 28 now and lived on his own, but we were still close. The next day, Saturday, I went to dinner with them. My dad and Sharon's house still smelled like home. That night Sharon was preparing something in the oven, the kind of meal that fills the kitchen with a rich aroma and makes you feel like you have arrived at the right place. My dad greeted me with a big hug. Sharon gave me a kiss on the cheek as always. "You look like you've got something on your mind," Sharon said while pouring me water. "What's up?" I couldn't even hide the smile. "I've been thinking about buying a vacation home near a lake. Something not too big, just a place to go on weekends." My dad's face lit up. "Diana, that's incredible. You deserve it." Sharon smiled as if I had just told her news about her own daughter. "How beautiful, dear." I took a deep breath as if asking for permission. I know it's a big expense, but I've saved up and with my salary I can afford a mortgage. I've already been looking into it. Sharon clapped softly, excited. "I'm proud of you, honey. So proud." The best part was that they said it without envy, without calculation, without feeling like I owed them something. We talked through the whole dinner. My dad asked about the area. Sharon wanted to see photos. I showed them listings on my phone, options in a lake region a couple of hours outside the state. Small cabins, nothing exaggerated. "This is a smart investment," Sharon said while we were clearing the plates. "And it's also your rest. You need a place where you can breathe." I imagine myself in the morning with coffee looking at the water, I said, dreaming out loud. "Sounds like heaven," my dad said, and then he dropped a line that left me thinking, "Your mother would be proud." I stayed quiet for a second. I hadn't even thought about telling her. "I'm having dinner with her next week," I said. "I'll tell her then." The following week, I went to my mom's house. No matter how many times I had gone in the last 2 years since we reconciled, that house never felt like mine again. My mom hugged me, smelling like the same perfume as always. Richard was there, serious, as if I were an interruption. Andrea was also visiting with her 11-year-old daughter, Emily. "Diana," Andrea said in that cheerful voice that even she didn't believe, "I hear things are still going great at work." "I'm doing well," I replied, sitting down. Emily was coloring in a notebook and barely looked up when I said hello. Dinner was the usual. Superficial talk. Richard talking about his work. Andrea complaining about her husband because he works too much. Emily asking for juice every 5 minutes. I couldn't hold it in anymore. "I have news," I finally said. "I decided to buy a vacation home by a lake. I've saved up and I think it's time." I expected a normal reaction, a smile, a "that's cool" something. But my mother didn't smile like people do when they are happy. Her eyes lit up strangely. She put her fork down and looked at me as if she were doing math. "A house by a lake," she repeated slowly. "How wonderful." Then she leaned toward me as if she were going to tell me a secret. "My 60th birthday is in 4 months, she said. "This is perfect timing. Could you give me that house as a gift?" I felt the water get stuck in my throat. "What?" I asked, unable to believe it. "Give it to me," she repeated, as if it were the most logical thing in the world. "It would be a generous gift and we could all use it. You could come on weekends too, of course." I just stared at her. "Mom, that's incredibly expensive. I'm buying that house for myself." Her face changed instantly. Her expression dropped as if a light had been turned off. "For yourself," she said, offended. "Diana, think about it. It would be a place for the family. Richard, Andrea, Emily, we could all rest there." "Of course you could visit," I said carefully. "But I want it to be mine." Andrea let out a short, mocking laugh. "Oh, Diana, you make good money. Don't be like that with my mom." "This isn't about being like that or not," I replied, feeling my face heat up. "It's a reasonable decision. A house is a massive commitment." My mother turned cold and serious. "I want you to think very carefully about what I'm asking," she said. Family comes first, and you don't just say no to your mother like that. I gave you life. The rest of the dinner was awkward. My mom changed the subject and acted like nothing happened, but I could feel the tension in the air. Richard looked at me with disapproval. Andrea had that smug smile, as if I were putting on a show. That night, back at my condo, I poured myself a glass of wine and sat on the couch trying to process it. My mother expected me to buy her a house that in that region would easily go for over $250,000 or $300,000. The more I thought about it, the angrier I got. I had worked incredibly hard to be where I was. I saved, I was careful, I made plans, and she wanted me to just hand it over as if my effort meant nothing. I also thought about those electronic transfers I had sent her, the help me out requests for $50 or $100. Deep down I thought it was about love, but that night a horrible idea hit me. Maybe she was just testing how much she could get out of me. By the time I finished my wine, I had made a decision. I wasn't going to give my mother a house. It was inappropriate, unfair, and absurd. If she wanted a vacation home, she could save up like anyone else. The next day I called my friend Daniel, who works in real estate. Daniel, remember what I said about the lake house? I want to get serious about it. Finally, he said, excited. Tell me what you're looking for. We talked for a long time. I told him I wanted something cozy, not huge, with water access, reachable in a couple of hours from the city if you leave early to beat the traffic. And the budget? He asked. I gave him a clear range, what I could afford with a down payment and a mortgage without suffocating myself. Give me some time, I'll find you good options, he promised. 2 months later, Daniel called me, almost shouting over the phone. Diana, I found it. Exactly what you asked for. I went to see it that same day. I left the city early before the highway got backed up. When I started seeing trees and breathing clean air, I knew I was doing the right thing. It was a small cabin, 2 bedrooms with a wraparound deck and a beautiful plot of land. You could see the water from the entrance. It wasn't a mansion, it wasn't out of a magazine, it was perfect. The price was at the high end of my budget, but with a loan I could do it. I'll take it, I told Daniel before we had even finished the tour. 3 weeks later, I was standing in front of that house with the keys in my hand, feeling something I hadn't felt in years, a proud sense of peace. I signed the deeds, finished the paperwork with the bank and title company, and walked out with a smile that barely fit on my face. I took a photo in front of the cabin and posted it to Facebook with a simple caption. Dreams come true. Finally, my vacation home. Not even half an hour passed before my phone rang. It was my mother. Diana, she said, her voice hard. I saw your post. Why didn't you consult me before buying a house? I stared at the water, unable to believe what I was hearing. Consult you? I repeated. Why would I have to consult you? Because that house is supposed to be mine, she said as if it were obvious. And honestly, it's a good thing you chose well. I actually like this one. I took a deep breath, holding back my anger. Mom, we already talked about this. I am not giving you my house. You are selfish, she snapped. I've dreamed of a house like that for years. You have money. This would mean everything to me. And then she started to cry. But it wasn't a cry of real sadness. It was a tantrum, a manipulation. I can't believe my own daughter won't do this for me, she sobbed, and then she hung up. I stood there for a minute with the phone in my hand, then put it away. I wasn't going to chase after her manipulation. 2 weeks later, I went to dinner with my dad and Sharon again. I needed to tell them what was happening. Sharon turned red with anger. You don't ask for that, Diana. You don't demand it, she said. Tell me you aren't considering it for even a second. Of course not, I replied. But she's messaging me every day. Look. I showed them my phone message after message saying she was tired of the city, that she deserved a rest, that family comes first, that I was a bad daughter. This is emotional blackmail, Sharon said firmly. Don't fall for it. My dad stayed quiet for a moment and then looked at me seriously. Your mother never put you first, not when you were a child and not now, he said. You don't owe her a house. Hearing that made me feel strong, as if a weight had been lifted from my chest. I ignored most of the messages. I only replied if she didn't mention the house. But as her birthday approached, it got worse. With about a month left, she was sending me long voice messages as if she were giving a speech, reminding me of everything she ever did for me and claiming I was ungrateful. When the day of her 60th birthday party arrived, I decided I was going to bring her a nice gift anyway. Something significant but reasonable. I went to a used car dealership and bought a compact car, fuel-efficient and in good condition. Nothing fancy, no screens or high-tech gadgets, just a reliable car. Much better than the one she currently drove. Cost me about $15,000. The title and all paperwork remained in my name since I paid for it. I asked them to prepare the delivery for after the party, and I put the keys in a beautiful little box, the kind used for jewelry. I arrived at my mom's house, and for the first time in weeks, she greeted me with a big smile. "Diana, my darling. Come," she said, taking me by the arm. "Sit here with me. I saved the best spot for you." She sat me right next to her. There were guests, neighbors, Richard's relatives, people I recognized from other gatherings. It was all laughter, soft music, cake, and photos. My mom leaned into my ear and whispered, "I hope your gift is actually good." I just smiled and said nothing. The party went on with stories and people toasting her. I felt strange but stayed polite. Until it was time for the gifts. My mom stood up and tapped her glass with a fork. Okay, attention everyone," she announced. I felt a pit in my stomach. "My daughter Diana has a very special surprise for me tonight," she said proudly. Someone laughed and someone else whispered, "Let's see what it is." I saw two faces of genuine surprise, as if they didn't know what she was talking about, and then she dropped the bomb. Diana decided to give me her beautiful lake house for my birthday. There was applause, yes, but there was also a sense of doubt in the air. One woman asked, "Really?" And my mom, without hesitating, finished with a huge smile. "Yes, my daughter is such a sweetheart." I froze. It was a nightmare. My mom was looking at me, waiting for me to stand up and confirm her lie, but I wasn't going to play that game. I stood up slowly, walked over to her, and placed the small box in her hands. "The keys to that house are not in here, Mom," I said clearly, "but I hope you like what I did bring you." Her expression changed in seconds, from excitement to confusion, and from confusion to fury. She snatched the box from me and went straight to the kitchen. I heard noises like things being moved around. A guest tried to smooth things over. "Oh no, now calm down, Pamela." But my mom didn't calm down. She came back without the box. "I threw it in the trash," she said with a frozen voice. "There is no room here for greed and selfishness. Get out." A horrible silence took over the room. Some guests went stiff. Others looked down. Someone tried to make a joke to break the tension, but no one laughed. Richard and Andrea, on the other hand, had "Serves you right" written all over their faces. Andrea leaned toward me with a nasty smile. "You just embarrassed yourself," she whispered. "It's shameful that you're like this to my mom." I didn't respond. I could feel my hands shaking. I went to the kitchen, opened the trash can and pulled out the box. She hadn't even opened it. It was intact. I took a photo right there with the box on top of the trash bag, out of instinct, out of anger, I don't know why. I walked out the front door without a word. When I got to my condo, I broke down. I was shaking with anger, sadness, and everything in between. I called Sharon immediately. She threw my gift in the trash. I barely managed to say when she picked up. Sharon's voice turned hard and indignant. "Without opening it?" she asked. "Without opening it?" I repeated, and that is when I really cried. I told her everything. How my mom announced in front of everyone that I was giving her the house, how she humiliated me, and how she threw away a gift worth nearly $15,000 as if it were garbage. "I want to talk to her right now," Sharon said, furious. "I'm going to tell her." "No," I stopped her. "Please no. I don't want any more drama. I'm just tired." I hung up and sat there with the box in my hands. The keys were still inside, and I thought with a mix of sadness and clarity, what do I do with a car now? My first thought was to return it and get a refund, but then another idea hit me, simpler and much more just. The next day, I drove to my dad and Sharon's house with the keys in my pocket. Sharon opened the door, and when she saw my face, she looked worried. "What happened, honey?" I took a breath and pulled out the box. "This was for my mother," I told her. "She threw it in the trash without opening it. And I want you to have it." Sharon stood still. "Diana, no," she whispered. "You can't give me a car." Yes, I can, I said firmly. You've done more for me than my mother has in my entire life. You have actually been there, and you deserve something nice. Sharon opened the box, saw the keys, and her eyes filled with tears. She covered her mouth with one hand as if she didn't know what to say. Then she hugged me so hard I almost lost my breath. I love you, she said with a broken voice. I love you as if you were my own. We went together to the dealership to pick up the car. It was perfect for her. Compact, comfortable, safe. I saw her smile like a child, and for the first time in a long time I smiled too without any guilt. I took a photo of Sharon next to the car and posted it to Facebook with a caption that came from my heart. When your mother rejects a gift without even looking at it, you give it to someone who actually knows how to love. This car is where it belongs. The next morning my phone started ringing at 7 a.m. It was my mother. One call after another. I didn't answer. Then the messages started coming. Lots of them. Diana, you have to give me that car. It was my birthday gift. I cannot believe you are doing this to me. That car is mine. I deleted everything without responding. She made her decision the moment she threw the gift in the trash. A few days later, I was in my condo getting home from work, trying to make myself something to eat, when someone started pounding on the door. I looked through the peephole and there they were, my mother and Andrea, both with flushed faces. I knew it would happen sooner or later. I barely opened the door. How dare you? My mother yelled, pushing the door open. I tried to stop her, but she barged into the condo as if she still had a right to be there. Andrea followed and slammed it shut. You lied in front of everyone, Andrea claimed. You made my mom look like a fool and then gave away her car. I couldn't help it. I laughed, a short, incredulous laugh. Her car. I repeated. She threw the gift in the trash without even opening it. I didn't know what it was. My mom defended herself. You should have told me. I shrugged. You showed me exactly how much I matter to you, Mom. You didn't even care to see what I brought you. All you wanted was the house. That's not true, she started to say, but she stopped halfway as if she realized how fake it sounded. Then her tone shifted. The tears came and out came the threat. Fine, she said coldly. I'm going to sue you. I'm going to go to court and I'm going to get that car back. This time I laughed harder, not out of mockery but because of the absurdity. Try it, I said. There are witnesses who saw you throw the box away, and I have a photo of the box sitting in the trash. My mother turned pale. She hadn't thought of that. I was just joking, she said quickly. But you still have to give it back to me. I'm your mother. Not that woman. My blood boiled but I spoke slowly. Sharon loves me, I said. You love my money. That is the difference. My mother winced as if I had hit her. You're being disrespectful, she snapped. I do love you. I looked at her without yelling or shaking. If you loved me, you would have been happy about my house. Instead, you wanted to take it from me. You threw away a gift worth nearly $15,000 because it wasn't what you wanted. Andrea cut in. You're exaggerating. My mom deserves that car more. I took a deep breath and pointed to the door. That's enough. Both of you get out and don't come looking for me again. My mom kept crying. Andrea was muttering angry things, but they left. I locked the door, sat on the couch and stayed in silence. Not out of sadness, but out of relief. 8 months have passed since then. I haven't spoken to my mother, Andrea, or Richard. At first, my mom kept trying to reach me through messages and calls. I blocked her. She persisted for a few weeks and then gave up. My life has improved in ways I didn't expect. On weekends I go to my cabin. I sit on the deck with a book, jump in the water when it's hot, make coffee early, and watch how the light changes over the lake. Sometimes I do nothing at all, and to me that is a massive luxury. My dad and Sharon visit often. Sharon loves driving her car up there. She says it makes her feel free and independent. My dad spends his time walking around the property, happy, as if the air has taken years off him. Dominic goes too. He brings his girlfriend, Renee. They stay by the campfire roasting marshmallows and talking about future plans. Renee is calm and kind, and seeing Dominic like that gives me peace. Last month, Dominic spoke to me in a nervous voice. Diana, do you think I could propose to Renee there at the cabin? Of course, I said without a second thought. This place is for family. He did it at sunset on the dock with the sun dipping over the water. Renee said yes. Now they are planning the wedding, and Dominic asked another favor. Do you think we could get married there too? Sharon is already excited, talking about flowers on the deck, tables in the yard, and lights in the trees. My dad says he'll handle hanging everything up, that I shouldn't worry. Sometimes I think about my mother. I wonder if it ever clicks for her what she did, if she ever feels ashamed or if she regrets it. But then I remember the peace I feel now and the guilt goes away. I don't miss the drama or the demands disguised as family. I don't miss feeling like I only mattered when I was paying for something. Sharon calls me every week just to chat, not to ask for anything, just to see how I am. My dad sends me funny messages. Dominic sends me ideas and questions about the wedding. That is family. The irony is that if my mother had just been happy for my house, if she had supported me the way a mother is supposed to, I would have invited her. She could have enjoyed it without owning it or controlling it. But she couldn't stand the idea of me having something she couldn't handle. Last weekend, Sharon and I were sitting on the deck at sunset with a glass of wine, watching the water. She was telling me about a book she was reading, and I just listened to her calm voice, feeling something that money can't buy: gratitude. You know what I like most about this place? I asked. What, honey? Sharon asked, squeezing my hand. That it's full of people who want to be with me, not people who come to see what they can get out of me. Sharon looked at me with soft eyes, the kind that don't judge. You deserve that, Diana, she said. You deserve to be loved for who you are, not for what you can give. And she was right. I spent too many years trying to buy my mother's love, sending money, enduring comments, hoping that one day she would see me as a daughter and not an ATM. But some people don't change. Now I am surrounded by people who choose me. Sharon had no obligation to care for me when she married my dad, but she did. My dad could have stayed on the sidelines, but he took my side. Dominic celebrated my achievements as if they were his own. Those are the ones who matter. Those are the ones who will be at the wedding next summer, dancing under the lights by the lake, at my house with my real family. My mother is still in her house with Richard and Andrea, driving her old car, probably telling everyone how life is unfair and what a bad daughter I am. But that's not my problem anymore. I stopped feeling guilty for having things I worked for. I stopped paying to be loved, and I stopped letting myself be manipulated by tears and demands. Finally, my life is my own. Comment. Sometimes the family we build is more meaningful than the one we are born into. Real love is never a transaction, and you should never feel like you have to pay to be valued. Setting boundaries with people who hurt you is not selfish. It is a necessary act of self-preservation. Your hard work deserves to be celebrated by people who truly care about your happiness, not your wallet. True generosity comes from the heart, but it should never be demanded or taken for granted. We must learn to recognize and cherish those who support us without an agenda. Walking away from toxicity makes room for genuine peace and stability in your life. Healing begins when you stop waiting for an apology that may never come and start living for yourself. You have the power to choose who gets a seat at your table and who no longer belongs in your life. Protect your peace, because a calm heart is the greatest luxury you can ever own. If you liked it, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.